Why you brought us here, Sean? Are we to sing for this jingle?
Yeah, we are.
All right.
We are. So here you go here.
You talked about everything you learned and what a great journey it was.
No, but it's funny. It's some of the stuff that I've seen is you look at it and you're like, hey, I get it. I guess what we really want to do is educate the community. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a podcast that brings you informed discussion to help make their community safer. I'm your host, Sean Sportun, Vice President of GardaWorld National Accounts. Welcome, everybody. In partnership with GardaWorld and Toronto Crime Stoppers, this will be a syndicated podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of Crime Stoppers See It, Say It, Stop It, a podcast that brings you informed discussion about unsolved crimes, wanted persons, awareness campaigns, and how citizens can remain anonymous to make their community safer. I'm your host, Sean Sportun, Chair of Toronto Crime Stoppers and Vice President, National Accounts at GardaWorld. Today, we are continuing the conversation on organized retail crime and the impact it is having not only on the retail community, but the community as a whole. And in this episode, we are calling It Costs Us All. Joining us today, we have Inspector Peter Webby from the Toronto Police Service, PC Sean O'Neill from the Toronto Police and Crime Stoppers, and PC Arjinder Gill from the Toronto Police Community Partnerships and Engagement Unit. Welcome, fellows.
Welcome. Thank you.
So this is Peter, you were here before.
Yes.
You guys are new to the conversation from a podcast perspective. But today in Toronto, with Toronto Police and the Toronto Crime Stoppers program, we launched a new awareness campaign to bring attention and much needed attention to the issues that we're seeing when it comes to organized retail crime. And when we think of retail crime, most people are thinking, well, the prices of products are going up, but they're not taking into consideration the actual impact that the crime is having on those prices going up. Maybe Sean, I'll throw it to you first from a Crime Stoppers perspective and tell us a little bit about the campaign that was launched today.
Sure. So 10:30 this morning, we had a launch at Toronto Police Corpcom, and it really was about a campaign bringing to light about organized retail crime. We're not just talking about the one-off shoplifters. We're talking about grand-scale thefts and how we could utilize the Crime Stoppers portal in reporting that crime anonymously to the police. It really is a focus on a collaborative approach between the community, the policing partners, as well as the media. And really, it's something that's evolving. Something's always changing. Like if you look at everything's going on in the States and regarding organized retail crime, where it's coming, and we're preparing for it.
Yeah, for sure. I guess, Peter, from an intelligence perspective, because that's
Yes.
your background, and I know that you know a lot about the organized retail crime piece. First of all, what are you seeing, if you can speak to that? And then how important is it for Crime Stoppers to be involved to generate some of this intelligence for you and the team that investigate these type of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, thank you for having us, Sean. This is excellent.
you.
These guys are doing amazing work at Crime Stoppers. Appreciate it, everything everybody does. As we know, organized crime is going to be a problem as long as it's existed. We've had issues with this lucrative business where whether it's, we've seen vehicles, we've seen small items. And I think the problem is that as long as there's somebody who's going to create a market for this, there's going to be people who are going to go into these stores and they're going to steal.
Right.
And there's all sorts of platforms to move these products and sell these products. And it's such a lucrative business that the only way to stop this is with a collaborative approach through all the services and across the board.
Yeah. I mean, you spoke to the lucrative part of it. I mean, it's $5 billion a year in Canada. In the States, it's up to $100 billion or some crazy number like that I saw. But the most concerning part that I see, and from a GardaWorld perspective, we have a lot of our officers that are at some of these retail locations as a client, is the potential for violence and the increase that we're seeing. And, when some of these bandits are into the stores and they're doing what they're doing, they really don't care that there's an employee or a security officer or a customer there, as an example. And that's most concerning for myself when you talk about the level of violence that comes with the organized retail crime part of it. And I think that's a key point that a lot of people don't really pay attention to.
Right.
Are you seeing stuff like that when it comes to the violence, or is it just more the retail theft, or do you see that kind of connection there with violence and stuff?
Well, absolutely. There is a lot of violence, and we're seeing more weapons than we've ever seen before, with a very abrasive approach to just walking in.
Yeah.
You know, we see this often where these bandits, they simply walk into a store, sometimes with or without weapons, with really no regard for the safety of the community, the safety of the employees in the store, and very little concern for any repercussions from law enforcement at times. And they will just simply go in, take items, knowing that they have a format or they have a distribution in place for these items. And quite often the items are targeted items. They're going for the items that they know they can move easily and quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the focus of the campaign, if it costs us all, and there's a website, you know, for more information on what we're talking about today, go to itcostusall.com. And it's really the connection of when you go in and the prices are high, or you're in there and you're spending more time in a retail environment because things are locked up or whatnot. That's the targeted items that you're talking about that are being locked away, and it costs you as a consumer, as a customer in the store, more time. You know, not only in the store, but it's hitting you in the pocketbook. PC Gill, when we talk about crime prevention and how retail organizations could combat some of the activity that they're seeing on the retail side, what kind of programs does Toronto Police have, or what are you guys doing from the community engagement perspective to help retailers?
There is a crime prevention initiative we call Project Clear Zone,
right,
which came from Peel Region. So shout out to Peel Police there, and it's essentially there to make an offender more detectable.
Right.
So it stresses the natural surveillance theory that's taught under SEPTED. And SEPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. And a prime philosophy of SEPTED is a proper and effective use of a given environment may lower the incidence of crime.
Right.
So basically saying that natural surveillance is there to draw eyes. And Project Clear Zone is it's basically it's 3-inch wide tape, a bright red, and it's put on the front window of a retail. Say because Peel Region was getting a rash of robberies for their convenience stores and gas stations, they made a Project Clear Zone where the window of where the cash register will be more visible to people outside,
right,
and also them looking inside, so making the offender more detectable.
Right,
so
right.
The crime will be detected by witnesses outside, where someone across the street or even retailers across the street can call police and make have the offender caught.
Right. And what else from an education perspective are we doing for the retailers? I know I was speaking to one of the officers today, and they were talking about putting some sort of a retail blitz campaign in some of the shopping malls and whatnot. Is that something that is being led by you guys, or is that divisional type of deal?
It's divisional, but I hear it may be going citywide.
Yeah.
I heard Rui today talk about Rui from the Retail Council of Canada there, talk about like a sting, an operation that the city can do all at once and have all the retailers on board and have the crime prevention officers, divisional crime prevention officers on board, and just do a retail blitz of loss prevention. And the major retailers that are seeing this loss. So collectively, we're obviously not going to announce the campaign, but have the offenders caught that way.
Yeah, and that's part of what we were trying to do today with Toronto Crime Stoppers and our friends at Toronto Police Services, create that awareness, right? And leading into the busy holiday shopping season, we're going to see, or we anticipate we will see, a higher level of this type of activity into the stores, into the shopping malls and whatnot. And I think that's the key piece is bringing the attention to it and reminding consumers and citizens while they're out there shopping to be alert, have that situational awareness. If you see something, hopefully that could be a key piece of the puzzle for our police to make an arrest by calling Crime Stoppers and remaining anonymous. Sean, what else are we doing with the Crime Stoppers program in the community where we can bring this awareness on this specific topic?
Yeah, well, I mean, like we are attending major events like Taste of the Kingsway and so forth, having communication with storefront owners, with individuals in the community, educating them about what Crime Stoppers is. I think the one thing that some people question, is it truly anonymous? The word is yes. Yes, it is. When we receive a tip in-house, we make sure that there's no identifiers in it, that there's no risk in passing on this information to the tipster. And we'll probably send back some questions back to them to obtain some more information from them to assist in the investigation itself.
Yeah.
And that's going to be done once you submit a tip. You get a tip ID and password, and that way we have that dialogue.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good stuff. And, maybe, Peter, I'll throw it back to you of what could we do better from a private sector perspective to the policing perspective? How could we collaborate a little bit more to share some of that information? I know Rui spoke about that earlier today at the press conference, and he's seen, a better collaboration over time. But what else could we do better?
And I agree. It is better. The collaboration is much better than it has been in the past. We still have a long way to go. We need to communicate better, because at the end of the day, these guys have no boundaries. And they're going to go from region to region, province to province, country to country even. And I think that we just have to be very, very focused and diligent on intelligence gathering. In order to get something together that we can work on, it means we need lots of intelligence, we need lots of information, and we need to make a nexus to some kind of criminal organization. And the only way that's going to happen is through collaborations through multiple agencies, where we put all that information together so that we can put a case together and move forward. So.
And it's key. It's key, because I know there's a lot of jurisdictional, I'm working something and I'm not telling, another jurisdiction, and when I look at it from a GardaWorld perspective, as I said, a lot of our guards are at these retail establishments and they're seeing things firsthand, and, often asked, why is GardaWorld so involved in this specific topic? And it comes to a due diligence perspective, and it also comes to a duty of care, right? Where, there's a lot of us within our organization that have the knowledge from the retail perspective. We see what is happening from a trend perspective. We hear it from our clients, but we also hear it from our police partners. And it comes down to community safety as a shared responsibility, which is a cornerstone of what we do at GardaWorld. And that's why we want to bring everybody together to have this conversation. PC Gill, what else could we be doing from a CPU perspective and what you guys do over there to further educate, the retailers? Are there any other programs outside of Clear Zone? And then how, from a Clear Zone perspective, if I was a retailer, could I have somebody come out, do an assessment of my store and put up the Clear Zone decal? How does that all work?
Yeah, so a couple of parts there. So we're in charge of having the literature flow. So we design the pamphlets, and we get the information from a certain investigative units that might be investigating the different trends that are happening. For instance, we'll go to our financial crimes unit to ask them about the trends and frauds. So we would be pushing that literature out through pamphlets and social media campaigns.
Right.
And to answer your second part, in terms of what was your second question?
If I was a retailer and I needed or I wanted to have an assessment done to put up Clear Zone, how would I go about doing that?
So usually assessments are done through if something has happened. A police officer will either recommend an assessment after a break-in or after a robbery, or if some sort of crime that has happened on premises. Now, you can also get an assessment done by reaching out to your divisional police station and speaking to the crime prevention coordinator there, and to the officers that are going to be trained in what we call SEPTED. SEPTED, like I mentioned, it's a philosophy, and I'm teaching it next week to some officers there, and as long as they're SEPTED trained, they're able to do that security audit and give the retailer some recommendations on how they can improve safety, how can they improve their customer flow, and try not to sacrifice accessibility and convenience for security, right? So having security, a main thing on their mind. So
Got you. And Peter, maybe back over to you. Is there anything else that's going on in your world that we can talk about when it comes to organized retail crime, and where can we make that shift, if you will, to further educate, or I know we're trying to do some awareness, but what else is there maybe that we could do differently?
Well, I think this is a great start. Crime Stoppers is a great way to get that information. In order to build a case, as I said before, we need the information.
Yeah.
We need to know who, we need to know how, we need to know where this money is going, where the product is going. How is this all coming together from a criminal organization standpoint? Now, there are multiple other charges that can be laid, but I think the real way to stop this problem is to take away the source of the problem, which is the funding, the money. The money is what it's all about, and it's about greed. So I think Crime Stoppers is the answer to that. Let's get people involved. Let's get them engaged. Have them call Crime Stoppers. I know there's all sorts of ways that they can give the information, and I think that information will become incredibly valuable to us from an organized crime standpoint. Yeah, no, and I totally agree. And, you know, we'll kind of end, if you will, with the campaign and how it was created. And, you know, it's basically taking the reverse sale, if you will, right? And prices, instead of going down as the sales do, they go up. And adjusting the way that consumers think of saying, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. And it catches their attention to how much time it takes you in the store because of all these extra security measures, so on and so forth. And the campaign was done, I think, really brilliantly. And Sean, you can kind of speak to it and from what you saw and how, you know, you think it will get that attention where we can generate some more tips. Yeah, I think the campaign overall was brilliantly done. The videos that's attached, if you go to itcostusall.com, you can see the videos there that were kind of make a little bit of humor to grab your attention. But, you know, it's really taking a standpoint on the typical things we see in marketplace. Like, if it's too good to be true, most likely it is. If it's brand new in box, I can't find my receipt and I want to sell it here, ask the questions. That's the big thing. I know the chief mentioned that back in January in our last launch. It was just ask the questions behind it to find out more about the product, where it came from. Yeah, it was funny. Some of the media I was talking to today after the press conference, and they're like, really? Like, if you buy that stuff, you could be charged? And you're like, yeah. I mean, if it can get linked back to you unknowingly, you're purchasing, you know, property that has been stolen, there's a charge for that. And whether that's late or not is one thing, but you're purchasing things that you had to have known that it came from somewhere. You're not buying a $200 pair of jeans for $25 and not saying, hey, wait a minute, I got a really good deal, right? So, you know, just to kind of end off, you know, Peter, what do you have, like, any closing words for the audience? No, I think the message that has to come across is we all have to participate. Yeah. And I think this is a great start. The retailers are very aggressively trying to get us engaged, and we are getting engaged as law enforcement. I think we're working very well together collaboratively. We still have a long way to go. It's not easy, but now we need the public involved. We need to get them involved, and everybody wants a great deal. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're going to get a deal on one thing and you're going to pay more for something else. Oh, 100%. So let's work together with the community. Let's work together corporately and in law enforcement to put a stop to this. Yeah, no, absolutely. PC Gill, any closing remarks from you? I would just tell the retailers or the small businesses to reach out. The education's out there. We're providing the literature. So if you want a security audit done, reach out to your divisional crime prevention officer, and we can do that security audit for you to make you feel more safe and have your customers feel more safe. Perfect. What about you, Sean? Yeah, if you have any information about a possible suspicious sale of an item, or you believe it's organized retail related, you can submit a tip to us online, 222tips.com, or give us a call at 416-222-8477. It is completely anonymous. If you want to speak with one of us to go over the submission process, we'll happily take your call and have that conversation. The phone calls are not recorded. There's no caller ID. And when you submit information, no personal identifiers of yourself will be asked. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys making the time to be here today. Thank you. As we conclude, I'd like to remind everyone that community safety is a shared responsibility. See it, say it, stop it. Remember, you remain anonymous. Criminals don't. For more information, please visit us at 222tips.com and follow us on social media. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast to stay connected and join the conversation. Please share our podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or show ideas, please email us at crimestopperspodcast@gmail.com. And for more information on organized retail crime, please visit itcostusall.com.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Until next time, be safe.